Some people like to spend their vacations on the beach to work on their tan. Others would rather use their time roaming the world, camping in the most unexpected places. The world may be small. It's filled with beautiful camping spots from Japan to Sweden. Let's take a look at some of the best places to camp in the world. Let's kick things off with Miyajima, an island in Japan. In the western part of the inland sea of Japan, located in the northwest of Hiroshima Bay, lies Itsukushima, but most people will know it by its nickname, Miyajima, which means Shrine Island. Itsukushima, or Miyajima, is most famous for its Itsukushima Shrine. This is a Shinto shrine that is best known for its floating torii gate. It's not only a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but also one of Hayashi Go's 3 views of Japan, which were established in 1643. It's only an hour outside the city of Hiroshima and a heaven of forests and beaches where you can either set up a tent or rent a cabin. Miyajima is definitely a place everyone should visit once in their lifetime. Next, Zion National Park, Utah, United States. This is easily one of the most breathtaking places in the world. Though not as widely known as it deserves to be, we're talking about Zion National Park in Utah. Located in the southwest of the United States, this place takes canyons to a whole new level. With its forest, red sandstone cliffs, and rugged plateaus, nature here is perfectly wild, and camping is only allowed in designated places for your own safety. Watchman and South are the most established of these campgrounds. But if you're experienced enough and you really want to get away from the rest of the world, you might be able to get yourself a permit that will allow you to stay overnight at one of the absolutely otherworldly campsites of the park's interior. Following, Sardinia, Mediterranean Italy. There are many reasons to visit Italy: food, art, fashion. But have you ever thought about hiking through the Mediterranean, especially Sardinia? A large island within the Mediterranean is a beautiful place to pitch a tent and take a drowsy nap at high noon. Sardinia is dotted with hilly mountains, beautiful sandy beaches, and a rocky coastline. What is better than waking up to the Italian countryside? And while you're there anyway, don't forget to get yourself a gelato. And though there are few things in life that can rival the raw beauty of a campfire and an open night sky, there's this thing called pizza. Stopping at a true Italian family-run pizzeria for an evening somewhere in the middle of Italy is something you really don't want to miss out on in life. Next up, the Sahara Desert in Morocco. When someone says Morocco, chances are camping isn't the first thing that comes to mind. But let us tell you, camping in the desert is one of the most magical things you can experience in this muggle world. And we're talking about the whole deal here. Trekking into the barren wilderness on camel and staying at a truly traditional nomadic encampment. Yes, this does mean you go out there with a guide so you won't be all alone, though for the veteran going solo wouldn't be impossible. But staying at one of the encampments does mean you'll have a nice homemade meal on arrival, and there are people who know how to deal with any kind of experience that can happen in such an unforgiving environment as the Sahara. Because guides or no guides, you will be surrounded by an endless desert landscape with the best views of the Milky Way you could wish for. And now, Denali National Park, Alaska. These are the kinds of dramatic landscapes that Bob Ross fell in love with and would spend the rest of his life painting. Alaska, wild and beautiful, and Denali National Park has all of the best that Alaska has on offer, including the tallest peak in North America. Denali, which was previously known as Mount McKinley, can be seen from all over Denali National Park, which is filled with pretty creeks, wildlife, a vast array of plants, and more mountains. If you want to stay the night here, there are several different campsites to choose from inside the park. Don't worry if you're not the glamping type and you have a craving for more backcountry grounds. Denali National Park's got you covered. And because there's so little light pollution, depending on what time of year you decide to go, you also have a very good shot at seeing the Northern Lights. Following, the King's Trail, Sweden. If Northern Lights are a goal and you want to go somewhere equally off the beaten path as Alaska, but filled with more mystique and myth in the misty woods, why not hike the King's Trail in Sweden? Also known as Gungsladen, the King's Trail is the longest and most famous hike in Sweden. But you don't have to be an absolute expert to enjoy the rough beauty of Sweden in this trail. For the full experience, it would take you about a month to cover the entire trail, but it's broken up into sections, so you can pick and choose the length of your hike and base it on your experience. And remember, as long as you're respectful of nature and animals, you have the freedom to roam pretty much anywhere in Sweden. You have the best shot at seeing the Northern Lights between early September and late March. But the lights are definitely not the only thing to be seen in Sweden. The Nordic landscape is like nothing else in the world and should absolutely be on your camping bucket list. Wait up, aren't you curious about all the other places that are perfect to pitch a tent or rent a cabin? Next up, we're introducing you to a camp in Patagonia that is not like any other camp you've ever seen. Which corner of Spain is the most underrated? And what do you say about sleeping in a tent that is suspended from a tree? Let's dig in. Next, what do you say about eco-camping in Patagonia, Chile? Though this isn't camping in its original sense, Patagonia's eco-camp is such a unique sort of camping experience. We had to include it because eco-camp is not just Chile's first geodesic hotel, but first one in the entire world. It's like glamping, but environmentally responsible. Founders Javier, Yurko, and Nani opened eco-camp in 2001, and they believe that nature in its most pristine state is a transformative experience, an experience that brings people closer to their most essential human qualities. At the camp, you stay in one of the domes that go from cozy to basic to cozy, and you're basically renting an apartment. If anything, eco-camp could be the perfect place to catch your breath while on a longer hike that has you sleeping under the stars. Next up, Asturias, Spain. Imagine hiking through the northwest of Spain, where villages cling to lush green mountains and fishing communities are dotted along the craggy coastline. This is a corner of the world where time has stood still. Asturias, Spain is still a massively underrated region of Spain. Better known for its more obvious pleasures of life, like the amazing nightlife and sangria, Spain also has some of the most spectacular views in the world, paired with a very pleasant climate. Some of the most beautiful campsites can be found in the region of Asturias, and the food really doesn't get much more local than this. So if you find yourself in Spain, remember to look in the less obvious corners of the world to make sure you're on a camping trip you'll remember. And now, Loch Lomond and the Trossachs National Park, Scotland. Best known for its very rich variety in whiskies, you could visit one of the 109 distilleries from Scotland to get to know the country better. Or you put on your hiking boots and trek your way through the scattered peaks, valleys, and villages of Scottish Loch Lomond and the Trossachs National Park, often called the Highlands in miniature. These vistas make for a bonny backdrop for a hike and a camping trip indeed. There's an infinite number of lochs and glens to explore, and when the light of day starts fading away, you'll find anything from remote wild camp spots to lavish caravan parks to stay the night. And with so many distilleries, you're bound to stumble upon one while you're there anyway. Just remember to plan ahead when you decide to visit the corner of Scotland, and make sure you've read the outdoor access code before so you're good to go. And lastly, tree camping in Waldseegarten, Holzlucht, Germany. You may have heard hikers and climbers sleeping on mountainsides, but for most people, that's a tad on the extreme side. But what about camping in a tree and feeling like a fairy? No, not in a tree house, in a tent, but suspended in a tree. All you have to do is go to Fronten in Germany, where you'll find Adventure Camp Waldseegarten. Here, you have an energizing day of adventure while you scale walls and zipline through trees. And at the end of the day, you could go home, or you could crawl into a tent that's suspended from a tree. That is, after a complete safety course and about 45 minutes of climbing. No previous climbing experience is needed to experience a magical night floating between the Bavarian trees. We do recommend you do your business before going up there. It's a long way down if you find yourself waking up in the middle of the night. There is absolutely no shortage of places to take your breath away, and some of them even come with campsites. Are you more of a glamper, or do you prefer to camp as wild as possible? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.